Well, jeepers! You're listening to Smash or Pass with JayBee, Millie, and Smash!
So, in today's episode, we are taking a look at Return to Zombie Island. So, plot if you've not seen this one before or you've not seen it for a while, the gang kind of promised Shaggy and Scooby that for now there's going to be no more mysteries. They're not going to research things, they're not going to investigate into things. But Shaggy and Scooby win a trip to a tropical island, and at that island, things start to become a bit strange, like trees falling down, and they see zombies and stuff, and the gang try and stick to that promise for as long as they can that they're not going to be interfering in the mystery. They're not going to investigate anything until Shaggy and Scooby finally give them permission to investigate things. It turns out it was all a setup for a TV show, but then there's some actual mystical element to it as well. So JayBee, I guess first questions is, what was your initial thoughts when you heard the title?
Well, I guess first and foremost, this is quite a special interview. Well, not interview, this is a special review for us because our first ever episode of this podcast was Zombie Island. And now we're kind of bringing things full circle, so I'm happy. I'm excited. But the title, it's funny because you, Millie, were with me when I first saw this title. And we were in Morrison's just going about our day shopping, and you pointed it out to me, and I was like, no. Yeah. I don't know, I didn't know anything the context on Scooby at the time, but I just thought, no way, is that going to be anywhere near as good? So my first impression was negative.
Yeah, mine too. Like JayBee said, we were just shopping, we saw it, and we were both like, oh gosh, no. Oh gosh, and just no. And admittedly, heading into this one, as we know from the last few weeks, because I won't stop talking about it, I hadn't seen the movie before. I didn't want to see the movie this time, and JayBee was kind of like,
I thought you were so excited for it.
Oh no, I'm sorry, it's such a shock. But JayBee was like, do you know what? You just need to treat this as a standalone movie. I've not seen it either, but just to calm it down, treat it as its own movie. And I was like, nope. The last one, I was happy to treat it as its own movie, because the way the title was worded, it could have existed that way. I was like, in this one, they've specifically called out Return to Zombie Island. It was there, it existed, I'm not doing this. So yeah, I was just going into it in a relatively bad mindset. Smash, what about you? What was your first impressions? Did you kind of preempt it from the clues in the last couple of movies, or?
Well, this one was interesting because it semi-leaked quite early. I want to say late 2018, or not late 2018 because it came out in 2019, late 2017, because we actually knew about this movie before Curse of the 13th Ghost. And so it was one of those, it's is it real? Are they actually going to do it and whatever? So for the longest time, I just kind of had it in the back of my head of, okay, this could be coming, but is it? And then there were two pictures that kind of started spreading around the internet. One being a poster that was a shot of the bayou, and it had the original coloring of Scooby Doo Zombie Island, but it had Return to Zombie Island. And then the tagline was, it's terror time, ... again, which, come on, that would have been perfect, but whatever. And, nobody really, said who, what, when, where, how that poster came about. It just showed up and spread like wildfire. And so, I didn't totally believe it was, the actual poster, but I was like, if it is anything of that nature, then, oh, I'm so ready. And then, a picture that a lot of people were claiming, oh, this could be from the movie, kind of again spread around, and I was like, if this is it looks beautiful. I love their updated costumes coming from Zombie Island and everything, but again, it was take it with a grain of salt. Who knows what's real and what's not. And then we had Curse of the 13th Ghost come out, and then I actually remember I was at a doctor's appointment in the waiting room, and suddenly the cover art and an article about it dropped. So like basically it got officially announced. No trailer yet, but just that it was officially announced. And I had to wait in that waiting room for a long time. And so like once that dropped, I dug the internet so far to find any sort of information. I eventually came across a video of a recording session for a foreign language. Like they were dubbing the movie, and it was like the end of the movie. So, you know, the person was doing Scooby, so I couldn't understand the language, but then, you know, he did the Scooby Doo, and I was just like, you know, anyway, found all this stuff about it and whatever. And but I remember as soon as that cover art was posted, everybody slammed those zombies. They were like, that is hideous, that's disgusting, don't want it, get it out, why is that a tropical tree, they're supposed to be in a bayou, blah 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 blah. And it was scary. It was like, I don't know if I want this movie to come out, purely because I think Warner Brothers is about to be mobbed. So, you know, I was super excited. And actually, this is where, this is the movie where the cover art, like, suddenly, I don't know who's doing it, what department, something, but the cover art for the movie is just, like, started to get really beautiful to me starting here. And so, although everybody kind of, you know, it's a lot of people are like, it's uninspirational, it's hideous, it's stupid. I, for one, absolutely adore the cover art for this movie. So when I saw it, I was like, you know, out of the context of the movie itself, I was just like, this cover art could look at all day. And then they keep getting better and better, I feel like, with each movie's release. Now, I will say, I think so far, the ones that we've had since, I think the Courage cover art is my least favorite. But like the Sword and the Scoob one, come on, that one's really cool. Anyway, so yeah, initial reactions was, but I do this with Scooby Doo anyways. I will give anything Scooby Doo a chance no matter what. So I was super excited for it. I kind of already told myself, like, don't expect anything grand, just go into it having fun. And you know what? Before we even get into anything, I'm gonna just say, you know what? This movie is just fun. That's all it is. The end.
Yeah, like, I'm definitely no defender of Warner Brothers or anything. Like, personally, I think you could have all the current higher-ups in a room and they wouldn't be able to turn on a bathtub. Like, that's my opinion of Warner Brothers. But I do agree that this cover is alright. I think in comparison to the original Zombie Island, the zombies look very different. But again, what I really reasoned with myself on the build-up to this is obviously, and actually at this point I'm going to issue a spoiler warning because this is quite a recent movie, so for all the ones from now up until Courage, spoiler warning, so don't listen to this if you haven't seen the film. But because these zombies in particular turn out to be like makeup and costume, I actually thought that was a really... I don't think it was intentional, because obviously I don't think that they could recreate the Mook animation, you know, look with the budget that they've got or the new animation style. But I think I could reason with myself that there's a reason why the zombies look different, and that's the reason. So I do agree on that. Yeah, this is a really good cover.
What
I will say, on the cover, I'm trying to remember. I think it's the furthest one down. But there's one zombie on that cover that I'm actually like, he actually looks cool. Like, I actually like that zombie's design. The other two, it's, I think it's the last one down. I should pull it out, but it's the more broad dude zombie. But anyway, I that zombie on the cover, I like that design. But the other ones are kind of like, you know, whatever.
See, I'd say that Warner Brothers could have done whatever they wanted with this cover, and it was still going to be met with controversy because people were like, it's Zombie Island, don't touch it.
To be fair, how well was this marketed? Because I know we've spoken to like people like Marty Grabson about Warner Brothers and marketing, but I feel like if we didn't go into the shop that day, we would never have found out about this until starting the podcast. And it's like, well, we've both grown up on Zombie Island. If nothing else, even if we didn't watch anything else other than that, I feel that we would have been curious enough to go back to it for Return to Zombie Island. but there was nothing about trailers trending or anything like that. So I don't know what the marketing was going on. But I guess, Smash, maybe you can elaborate. What did they do?
Yeah, what had happened, because this movie was kind of marketed as the 50th anniversary movie because it was releasing the closest to the actual 50th anniversary date. And so they were kind of, you know, making it like, oh, because it's Scooby's 50th anniversary, we're gonna bring back a classic Scooby movie. So Zombie Island, everybody. And so like initially they dropped an article and had like higher up people of Warner Brothers talking about it and be like, yeah, we're so excited to bring this generation to zombies and stuff. And I think I remember at one point in the article they were like, I think we did a really good job of mixing kind of, basically making it kid friendly, but also, staying true to Zombie Island, blah, 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 the BS that they have to say. Anyway, so they dropped an article with the cover art, like a good week, maybe 2 weeks beforehand. And then we were waiting for a trailer. We're like, hey, let's see this trailer, because we got the synopsis and everybody was freaking out that it was Moonstar Island. They were like, everybody, when they read the article was like, that is not the right island. That is, and I was like, to me, I was like, okay, there's got to be context to that, because I'm like, Warner Brothers, although, yes, can be a little cuckoo, aren't that dumb. Like, I'm like, they're not going to do a whole movie sequel-ish and be like, it's Moonstar Island. I'm like, there's no way. There's no way. There has to be a reason that they're calling it Moonstar Island. So, anyway, then the trailer, I remember I was in Vegas when the trailer dropped, and there was a bunch of rumors I was going to drop, but like nothing confirmed. So I woke up, I want to say like 7 a.m, and then an hour later, I think it was like 8 or something, the trailer dropped. And it was quiet at first, because it was actually unlisted. So it was like, if you had the link, then you could watch it, but it was not a widespread release yet. So luckily I was able to get it, did my reaction to it and whatever. And I have to say, although I love the music in the trailer, this was the most lazy trailer you could have ever did. Like, I could have made it, Like, there was no voiceover, there was no cool graphics or anything. It was literally just splices of the movie and then just like, oh yeah, it's coming out. And I was just like, okay, if you look at the trailer for Curse of the 13th Ghost, clearly someone was more excited for that movie than this one. And then you go into, well, then Happy Halloween was kind of lackluster too, but at least I had like a voiceover. But then starting at Sword and the Scoob, all of a sudden they're giving these trailers a budget now. But I'm gonna say it, worst trailer for a Scooby Doo movie ever. They, already had something kind of iffy on their hands, and their trailer did not help it whatsoever.
No, I feel like, yeah, okay. I feel like that's added some good context that I feel you always do, which is very helpful.
Yeah, I mean, it's just great to learn about the history of this, because with the others, I almost reasoned with myself, like, oh my gosh, 2014 movie, then I was doing this, that, and the other. Whereas this, it's like, well, we still had the channel at this time, no? We were just doing other things, so it's kind of like I was on the internet actively, and it's just so strange that this flew right under the radar for me, but no, I do like that. But I guess now we're on to the intro.
We are, so no cold openings here. This goes straight into the titles. And I will say they try for this, I'd say, to go to and recreate some of the Zombie Island kind of art style. There's a few kind of what I'd say iconic things visited here from Zombie Island in the title scene. So there's the crocodile in the water initially, the boat, the house, Moonscar.
Well, it's literally Terror Time again, isn't it? With like the swinging, it I think they recreate the kind of choreography from that, and the music. I think is some of my favorite, and like intro music. Like, it's so good.
I love the music so much.
There's the Sundial Cat people. It's just, I'd say, a relatively nice tribute to Zombie Island.
It's spooky as well. Like the picture of Morgan Moonscar that they end up using in like the book
Yeah.
sequence
Yeah.
looks so much like the original Morgan Moonscar. It was so cool. Like I could rewatch this intro like time and time again. I just loved it.
Like, I feel it's fair to say that I was analytical, like very critical going into this, but the titles, I was like, okay, fine, 10 out of 10, they did great. I'm happy.
Oh my gosh, I remember when I first watched this movie, I actually watched Zombie Island and Return to Zombie Island back to back. And so, I watched, which it was funny because actually, like, I wasn't able to watch the movie until a little later in the day because of work and whatever. And I posted something on Twitter like, okay, I'm about to have my little Zombie Island, like, watch-a-thon, whatever. And there was someone on Twitter. They're not on Twitter anymore. They actually kind of retired from their social media days. But basically it was like, I'm warning you now, do not do it. And I was like, too bad, I'm gonna do it. And so, anyway, I watched them back to back. And I thought going into this intro, I was like, oh my gosh, it is like the movie we just watched. And I love the creepy music and stuff. And also, actually, this movie went to San Diego Comic-Con that year and had a preview. Like, so they played the entire movie for the audience there, and it actually was well received there. And so a lot of people just from that had some hope. And we got a shot of the title from the opening sequence from that event. And so, I was like, at this point in the movie, I was like, okay, it had good reception at Comic-Con. This intro is really banging. I'm jamming to this music. Let's see where this goes.
See, what you said there, I think we tried to watch them back to back as well. I think it was more that we had to leave about a day in between. Because I think JayBee was very much like, just try and leave it a bit, because I think after last week, he was like, yeah, I feel like it doesn't need to progress much more downhill for Velma. So.
And I'm knackering myself.
So we left, we tried to do it back to back. We did leave a few hours in between, but ultimately, like you were saying, the titles lined up relatively nicely.
I'm almost wondering, though, if it was either one, too scary for contemporary audiences, or two, I don't know. What I'm saying is something seems to have gone wrong because they animated the scenes with the cat creatures and everything so well. And my issue is, I understand, like I said, the zombies looking different, and I understand that there's also fake cat creatures in this as well. But when there's supposedly a real one, I feel that they should have animated that one the same way that they animated the ones from the intro, because then there's a clear kind of difference. But the fake cat creature, or the real cat creature, looks as goofy as the fake ones.
Yeah.
But yet we've got clear visuals of the real cat creatures in the intro, and it's like, if they can animate that, then do it throughout, or make I just have an issue with it.
We'll get on to how I feel about it later, but for me personally, that's what makes it manageable, because it's like, okay, well, ultimately, this is I guess an opinion that had normally come towards the end of this, but it's okay, well, it's in a completely different art style. It doesn't look the same. It's not associated with Zombie Island. Zombie Island's an entirely different thing. That doesn't look like it's part of it. They didn't look like they're part of it. It's current Mystery Inc. That's just going to be someone else in a mask that they've not bothered with. Zombie Island is at peace, and some other people have come to this island and tried to recreate stuff because it didn't fit. It didn't look right. It didn't look good.
So what I've learned from other kind of interviews and reading and stuff, they actually commission very specific people to do the intros. I learned this with Frankencreepy, because they, basically a separate artist that doesn't do anything else with the movie comes and animates the intros. Sometimes they have hey, can you do it this way? Can you, we're looking for this kind of intro. Or sometimes they're basically just shoot for whatever you want. And so like in terms of the Franken creepy one, that one was one that they literally were like, this is what's going to be going on in the like noise background, so do with it what you will. And so then that's where they kind of were like, okay, we'll have like silhouettes and this and that. So it almost seems like with Return to Zombie Island, they were like, okay, we want to retell the original movie throughout the credits and stuff. And whoever did this was like, I love this movie. I'm going to, make it look so good and so close as I can and whatever. Then you go into the actual movie and it's like, whoever animates the actual movies part is like, yeah, we're not going to, do anything with that, but it looks great. So I think one of the big reasons that those cat creatures in the beginning look way more close to the original movies is because they actually commission someone totally separate to do the intros every time.
I've got a question on that. They do the flashback sequence in the movie where they revert to the old art style again. Do we know if the person that did the intro did that, or was that a different person animating?
I could not answer that. That would be something we'd have to ask someone.
Just because I feel like, again, that was a moment when I was like, okay, a few little tweaks, but it's okay.
I have another question as well. I feel like this is like the SMASH interview. But I think it was you that mentioned that isn't there a bit of a miscommunication between this movie and the next movie, which kind of was meant to round off a trilogy?
Yeah, so this movie, because so again, this is part of a trilogy that they were trying to do, and Curse of the 13th Ghost and Return to Zombie Island. So Tim Sheridan was the writer of Curse, and Jeremy Adams is the writer of Return to Zombie Island. They collaborated, were kind of like, okay, so, this is what I'm going to do with my story, and this is going to be kind of like the effects of it by the end. So then, just so so like Tim was like, just so you know, the Mystery Machine's gone. So then Jeremy has to go, okay, now I got to incorporate that into my story while also having this whole Return to Zombie Island story. But then for whatever reason, gosh, I can never remember who wrote Happy Halloween. Something, oh gosh, I can't remember, but he was the writer of The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy. But for whatever reason, nobody interacted with him. And so he's like, cool, I'm going to go, do this Happy Halloween movie. I'm going to make these crossovers, see what I can do with DC. I'm going to get some other characters in this. And he was like, and he said in an interview at one point, he was like, I watched at least one episode of every piece of Scooby Doo media so that I could incorporate at least one thing of every Scooby Doo media in my movie, which is partially why Daphne kind of goes be cool style in Happy Halloween, and also why they're in Crystal Cove in that movie, because he was like, to me, every piece of Scooby Doo media all exists, not one cancels out another or whatever. And so he's like, in my movie of Happy Halloween, everything everything counts basically. But again, they never really told. I mean, they told him, hey, this is going to be a part of a trilogy, so the villain is going to be this in your movie, so kind of conclude that more or less, make your mystery around this dude or whatever. But a lot of the details was never told to him, and so that's like, we'll hop into Happy Halloween next, and the Mystery Machine's back. Whereas, at the end of this movie, they made a huge deal. Daphne was like, we'll get the Mystery Machine back, whatever it takes. And then you jump in the next movie. Oh, yep, we're banging on the door. Get out, Shaggy and Scooby. No comment on where it went or how we got it. So there was miscommunication starting here to the next movie. And it's, it's hard to pinpoint whose fault was that. Was it Jeremy and Tim's? Was it Warner Brothers? Was it Jim? Who did not communicate? And what?
Sorry. I was going to say, I think in the defense of the writer, I presume that it takes, you know, more than 6 months to kind of do these movies. So it's not that they didn't watch the one before and get confused. I guess it was like a miscommunication in that they'd done the script, they'd started to film, record, animate, and then this movie launched and they probably watched it back like, okay, then this doesn't line up. But at the same time, that one's now gone to like the main edit and everything, and oh, okay.
Yeah, like my theory was that maybe like if the writers had communicated, or if certain elements of this movie were better received or differently received, would they almost have tried to have unmasked the black cat creature in the next movie as being part of the sheriff's plan to oversee the gang? But I don't know. That was just a little theory I came up with.
Well, it's, you know, it's hard with these because, I mean, while, yes, Curse of the 13th Ghost and Return to Zombie Island are, you know, kind of like follow-ups from previous Scooby projects, whereas Happy Halloween is a follow-up to these two movies, they have to do this weird balance of, like, how do we make a story that is its own thing? So if anybody randomly saw this in the store, they can pick it up, watch it, and it all makes sense to them. They don't need any context of previous things. But also, if you've seen, you know, the previous things, then you can, you know, watch this and see the connections and see how it correlates, you know, onto this one and stuff. So, like, you know, for the next one, Happy Halloween, he, you know, he basically had to write this story as if no one watched Curse of the 13th Ghost or Return to Zombie Island and just randomly picked this one up, which I actually know someone I'm friends with. They actually live in the UK as well. They picked up Happy Halloween out of the blue. They were like, yeah, we're going to watch it on Halloween and whatever. And I was like, have you seen the other two movies? And they were like, no, we haven't watched Scooby Doo movies for a hot minute. And I'm like, then that one's not going to be very rewarding to you because the end result kind of follows up from other movies. So you're probably going to be a little confused. I mean, they explain to a point, but you also, you know, there's just a lot of context you're missing. You know, so it's one of those things where, like, I honestly have wanted them to make these Scooby movies like connect, you know. It's like you watch this movie, then you watch the next, and they connect. And, you know, I've wanted the movies to start connecting. And I thought, you know, when I heard, oh, they're doing this trilogy thing and whatever, and, you know, watching them, I was like, oh, wow, you know, they're actually like kind of progressing from one another. I was kind of excited, but then again, I also saw that weird balance that they have to do where it's like anyone can watch it no matter what they have or haven't seen, or you can also follow along with the story, but the story has to be like so dumbed down to the point that you don't have to watch the other movies if you don't want to, you know. So it's a weird balance that they're doing right now.
It is, and I think it's fair to say, like, when you start to get into this movie, the first little bit, it's almost like that you almost get the impression that they did that in this movie, in that they forgot about the Mystery Machine story, because it starts off with them kind of being chased by a werewolf and they use the Mystery Machine to kind of help catch it. And I was like, oh no.
Right.
Okay then, so we don't get the continuation. It's kind of like watching it on like Boomerang again when I was a little kid. It's not linked. So
Yeah.
It is what it is. One thing that I kind of liked that it was a werewolf as the villain, because when I was really little, I used to think the cat people on Zombie Island were werewolves, and I don't know why.
Even despite the meowing.
Oh yeah.
No, I just feel like I'd see a picture of them and thought they looked like werewolves when I was little, I think, before I really saw the movie.
Ooh, well, actually, interestingly enough, I used to think that, you know, Jacques, the sailor guy that turns into that brown cat creature, I thought that was the same character as the Jaguaro in Cyber Chase, and I thought it was a callback to Zombie Island, whereas the Jaguaro is its own thing. It's like a different animal, so, yeah. Things do be looking similar.
So, I don't know, I just was like, oh, I kind of like that, because when I was little, I was really stupid and just didn't pick up on all the cat stuff. So, yeah, there's a trap there. And I feel like I got suspicious of this part of the movie, which ultimately we find out is a dream, but like the second Fred's trap works the first time and it doesn't result in them having to run and it all coincidentally works out, it's a bit like, it shouldn't be working this well.
No, so you've done Fred dirty there. He's a master of traps.
And then, so I was a bit like, not too sure that it would work that well. And then they have this weird montage where they're washing the mystery machine.
I quite like that.
I thought it was very out of place. It was like, okay, now we need to round up the rest. But before we do, hey, let's put mystery solving on hold and clean the mystery machine.
It was fun though. I thought it was really cute.
It was fun. It was really fun. But I was just like, does that come in the middle of a mystery? Like, you said there's more. Does it go in now, or like, is it not meant to be like after you've caught the rest of them?
I mean, that's true. But I guess like, if they're like going to be ramming them all down, it needs to be clean. And then clean before and after. Recommendations.
But yeah, there was a montage. I kind of them like catching all the like monsters.
See, this is weird because it's like the song "The Good Old Days" and it's how Fred loves like catching and unmasking. Oh yeah, and I actually like this, but in a way, it was the reverse of "The Ghost Is Here." Like it was the same message, but it was the exact like flip side. You know, the ghost is here was, oh my gosh, why are these always fake? That this is pointless. And this is going, oh my gosh, these are all fake. How fun is it to unmask them? Which I thought was very interesting.
Yeah.
It was good. It was a fun scene. And like we say, it just all turns out to be a Fred dream, and that's where they pick up on.
But this is a really cool detail, and I don't know if this was intentional or if it was whatever. But I think at some point in the dream, Fred hits a button and oil flies out of the mystery machine to like slam into to distract people, and that was something that he was jealous about with the mystery machine in the last one. So it was kind of cool that they dreamed of like an upgrade.
That is cool.
Oh my gosh, I never noticed that.
Hey,
that is fun.
Breaking ground.
But this is where it picks up in like pretty much the exact location of the last movie, in that they've sold the mystery machine, they don't have it anymore. That's why Fred was dreaming about it. He was sad.
Oh.
And Velma doesn't seem okay. It's all
did she in the last movie?
Velma's never
No,
okay.
in the last one, she was annoying. She was really annoying, and I really didn't like her.
Velma's the new Scooby.
In this one, I'm slightly concerned about her.
Honestly, what's a Velma?
Yeah, what? Oh, please come. Oh my gosh. Okay, if like James Gunn, Raja Gosnell, whoever's gonna work, if they're gonna make a third live action Scooby Doo movie, can we have like Velmasaurus Rex at the end? Can we make that a new thing, please?
I feel like there's a reason.
Make her pee on Daphne.
Like, there's been a couple of times now when we see Velma as the villain. Like,
yeah,
was it Frank and Creepy?
Yeah,
Where's my mummy? I feel like she's about to be the villain again. I feel like it's getting to her. I don't know. When that first scene when she's laughing, I've just put Velma's loco. Like, she's outright crazy, and I'm concerned about her.
Yeah, she's batshit.
Like, she's not currently annoying me. I'm genuinely concerned.
Why didn't you help her out then? You could Scooby Natural it and give her a hug.
No, I'm not that worried about her. No. But yeah, she's just like laughing and a bit like crazy.
I mean, yeah, and I think they're not that annoying. I think Kate Micucci again has got that more kind of higher pitch.
She's upped her voice in this again,
but it's fine at the start for what it is, I guess. Like, and because she is going a bit crazy with like, oh, why can't we do this? But
now I'm gonna say something maybe controversial and unexpected, because I think. So we talked about Kate Micucci's voice, and I feel like for this, it was again like last time. It was just a bit annoying, and she keeps doing this weird laugh thing, like she's not okay, and I find her character in this a bit confusing. One character that I love in this, and I feel like I expected to just look at everything that wasn't the same as Zombie Island and be like, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. I think. Huge respect to Lillard and Welker in this movie, because for some reason Welker as Fred I feel like it leveled up in this movie. There's some instances when I was just like, I don't know what's different, I don't know why it's different, but in this movie, I really like Frank Welker's voice. And the scene that we're coming up to, where Lillard's like, okay, I don't want any more mysteries, you know, you're the promisor, I'm the promisee, like, you need to, like, I don't know, there was just something about Shaggy's voice as well, and I was like, this is really good. Like, I feel like I've not fully appreciated Lillard as Shaggy until this point.
Not even as SD McCrawley.
No. I feel like, do you know what? I feel like it's the Daphne and Velma books that have done this. I never used to care much for Shaggy's character, and then I read them books, and now I'm like, I like Shaggy's character. So now I'm like, yeah, Lillard's great.
Is it because they made him a hot himbo?
No, it's just because they added some, like, substance, and I'm like, oh,
I mean,
I like that character.
I was upset that I wasn't more impressed. Oh, this is, oh gosh, this is so un-me. But I was kind of upset that I wasn't more impressed with Grey's performance in this movie. Just because I feel like it would have been such a big moment for them, because obviously, like, Mary Kay Bergman was their mentor and they tragically passed away, but this was kind of Mary Kay's first, like, thing as Daphne in Zombie Island. And so it would have been just such a nice moment to, like, kind of call back to that. Maybe personally it would have been, but I will say there is this one moment later on in the film where she's shouting for Shaggy and Scooby. I flashed right back to Mary Kay in that scene, and I was like, oh my gosh, that is amazing. Like, it was, like, out of context, it was the same person, and it made me emotional. It was fantastic. But at the start, I was a bit like, maybe give Daphne a bit more to do. Like, I don't know. I just thought it would have been a nice moment for fans that know and her personally.
I feel like see, this is bad. I'm glad you gave Daphne that consideration, because I feel like I didn't think much about Daphne in this movie. I just kind of forgot she was there. Velma, I was constantly worried about, and the voice, I didn't like the voice. I'm sorry. Lillard and Welker, I was like, okay, that's great. But yeah, Daphne, I feel like didn't give her the consideration she maybe deserved. Smash, what did you think to the voices in this movie?
I have to say, I kind of agree with you guys. Like, Fred, Shaggy, and Scooby, I think, were the highlights for me in this movie. And it almost just seemed like, I don't know, maybe Lillard and Frank, like, read the script and was just like, this is so fun, and just, like, had a fun time recording this one. Like, that's what it sounds like to me, is that they were just like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. Like, you know, Shaggy's all, we're not solving mysteries, and so Lillard was just like, this is so fun, I'm gonna lean into this. And then, you know, Frank was like, well, because actually at one point Frank had said, because he originally auditioned for Shaggy way back in the day, and he wanted to be more the comedic character and stuff. And so I think starting more so in Mr. Incorporated, a little bit in What's New as well, but they kind of allowed him to, and maybe he even was like, I'm gonna do it anyways, let Fred be more comedic. And so whenever Fred can be just this silly out there character, oh, you can tell Frank is all there for it. And I feel like this whole movie is just Fred going through an existential crisis, and Frank was like, I'm here for it, I'm going all in, you know, with all of these different things. And, like, I mean, even with Scooby too, because there's one line in this movie from Scooby that always gets me cracking up, because it's like, I don't exactly remember. I think it's like the gang are trying to explain to Shaggy and Scooby, like, well, maybe if we get approval to, you know, cancel the promise or whatever, you know, and Shaggy and Scooby are just like staring at him, and Scooby goes, I get it, and then leans into Shaggy, I don't. That always makes me laugh.
Yeah. It was some really good voice acting on everyone's, certainly on Welker and Lillard's part in this. And
was it Billy West that was Shaggy in the first one, not Scott Innes? Or was it Scott Innes? Billy West.
But I hate to say, Billy West is my least favorite Shaggy. So whenever I watch Zombie Island, I can't do Shaggy in that movie. I can't handle him.
I didn't realise
That's
thought that.
Controversial, but
Oh no.
I didn't realise that I had an issue with Shaggy's voice in Zombie Island until I watched this. And there were at least 3 instances.
Although, but the scream,
in my
Billy
notes.
West's Shaggy scream is so. I
can't
love
do a
that
scream.
because the scream is so
I don't like it.
scared, and I kind of it stuck out in my mind as a kid, and I don't think it would have worked in any other movie except that one. But there, I'm kind of thinking it does. Although voice all throughout, like dialogue, yeah, I think probably more bottom of the pile.
I'd say there's at least 3.
Scream, though. I'll say that his Billy West scream, although I don't love it, it does fit like a horror aspect.
Yeah. I also think maybe Lillard, for all, I feel like they are in a very iconic horror movie, but their kind of Shaggy brings more of a comedic value to it. Kind of, it is more approachable. It's maybe reaches like a high pitch sometimes, which makes it more appropriate for like children and stuff. So they're kind of less scared when watching Scooby. But I feel like there's 3 instances in my notes this week where I've just written Lillard with like a love heart next to it. I look like a complete fangirl, but it's just because I'm like, their voice is so good in this. What's happened? Like, this is really good. And there's one line in this scene where he's like, okay, so you the promisor, say to me the promisor. And I found that hilarious because part of my law degree was looking at contracts and verbal agreements and stuff, and they're the terms. It's promisor and promisee, and like I feel like when you're a student studying law, you always feel like a bit like a fish out of water. Like, okay, these are terms and they don't make much sense. Well, they make sense, but like I don't feel like I'm like old enough to be saying them or sophisticated enough to be saying them. So you do feel like kind of like he comes across in that movie, kind of like bumbling around all these like correct terms and stuff. And I don't know why, but I just found that really funny.
Yeah. It was good. I suppose now moving on, we've got this kind of scene with Elvira, which is gonna become more prominent in later movies. But I thought it was fun, and in that kind of sequence, we find out that Shaggy has won a trip to this tropical island. What was it with like three friends and a dog?
Yeah, and a pet.
Yeah,
and everyone's like, a pet. And also something you skipped over is we see Sheriff Bronson wannabe again.
Oh god.
So again, that's kind of
I
fitting
have
that
a theory
trilogy
about
thing,
this guy.
returning characters. Okay, what's the theory?
So, before Happy Halloween came out, I had this theory that if you watch the original Where Are You series, there's this sheriff that they don't talk to him every episode, but there's a handful of episodes where they kind of end the episode talking with the sheriff and like someone that they found that was kidnapped or whatever. And I think this is the same sheriff, just now he's a bit older in these movies. But also before Happy Halloween came out, but I had this whole theory that I actually called that the trailer, the officer dude was going to be the bad guy in Happy Halloween, which spoiler, y'all. I was like, you know what? That officer is showing up again in this movie. He has to be up to something. And so originally I thought he was the black cat creature that never gets explained in the movie. And so then I thought in Happy Halloween, he was going to be like, oh, I lured you to the island and I was going to try to suck your life source out of you, blah, blah, blah. But then I couldn't. And so now I've come to track you down in Crystal Cove again, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I thought it was really on something. But I'm proud of myself. I called it, that the officer was not a good dude. Anyway, there's that.
I mean, when are officers ever good dudes, right?
One thing that I will say, I can't speak for Happy Halloween because I've not seen it yet, but so far in this trilogy, the villains are very predictable.
Why?
Like, this one was... It was ridiculous. Like, it was like... I'm going to call it chill out syndrome. It's like, who's the only ones not there? Or that was mentioned, but's been left and forgotten about. Like, it physically couldn't have been anyone else.
It could have been the gardener, Bo.
No.
No.
So, this
freaking Bo.
Yeah, well done, Millie. Bo.
I have an issue with this movie.
Oh, do you? What is it?
It's not this movie in general. It's just how they quite often treat Mr. Ink in general. Like, I feel like these are meant to be some of the most intelligent teenagers in the world, right? So how is it that they don't realise it's the same place? Like, you go on holiday, right?
Well,
You know you have to drive to where you're getting the boat, where you're getting the aeroplane. You're going to know that you've gone to exactly the same location, that you're getting that boat in exactly the same location, that it looks very much like the boat from the time before. There is no way that if you're in, say, the top 1% of intellectual teens, that you don't know that.
I disagree with you. I'd say that they do know it, but they made a promise to Shaggy and Scooby, so they're not mentioning it. Yes,
I feel like Shaggy and Scooby would be
Maybe.
scared enough to know, though.
yeah, I think they do, but they're not allowing people. Like, even when zombies are walking towards the house, they're like, it takes them a while. Maybe, and they even forgot about it, didn't they? That they made the promise.
Yeah, well, I guess it would explain why Velma's going insane if she's, like, understanding this and not saying it, but... the ferry captain is also a creep. I felt like they were going to be maybe the Lester character, but
Is he a you-know-what?
they, like, you know, like, he got abducted by the cat people or zombies at some point, and that he was going to have some fun little backstory, but then they just kind of abandoned his character till the end, when they needed another mask.
Yeah, I had an issue with them, actually. Because I felt like in, like, the original Jock was kind of fun but creepy, whereas in this, it's just generic sailor. Like, find a generic sailor's outfit, a generic sailor's voice, and just have them there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, yeah, he says it's his last trip on account of zombies, and Daphne's like, hey, remember when we went to that island?
Yeah, again, it's fine, this part.
It's
Like,
what
I
it
don't
is.
have an issue with this part, really. It's just
This is just setting up the dread, I feel, at this point. Like, oh no, they're getting there. It's been mentioned. They're doing this, okay. But it's not like they're doing anything wrong. And then Velma's like, oh, I've got my unsolved cases list. And it's like, they're not unsolved. We've watched the movie. They're fine. You don't need to mention the reluctant werewolf. You weren't there. Leave that alone. And then I was like, oh no, SMASH said this is a trio of movies. Are they going to wreck that next? Like, oh no.
to be fair, she could have been Googie in disguise.
But yeah.
Oh my heck, that would have been funny. Revenge on Shaggy.
Ooh. It
That
could
would have been funny.
Madeline. Actually, didn't BJ Ward also play
Madeline.
Googie as well? So technically there's some Velma in Googie, right?
I just feel like, why Reluctant Werewolf though? Why not like Gold Skull Boo Brothers?
But she wasn't there either.
Yeah, but like if they're gonna pick on movies that didn't get the unmasking that they wanted and everything, or where the ghosts were real,
True.
then why the Reluctant Werewolf? I don't know.
I mean, it was a good callback, and I don't know. I guess, yeah.
I guess I'm picking faults with it unnecessarily, but we also knew that that's exactly what I was gonna do. And it's like, okay, you don't need to mention that, and both those movies, they had an ending, so shush.
Eric Stauffer.
So they arrive at the island, and the two people meeting them, again, shock it was them, were like, get out! It's infested with zombies, get out! I don't know how Shaggy and Scooby are like, oh, yay, it's a greeting! They're only terrified of everything!
Yeah.
Like, I understand, JayBee, if you want to justify this, like, oh, but the gang just haven't been talking about mysteries, so it's giving them a chance to relax, so they're not thinking about it, but it's like, did they get drugged on the boat? Because this is insane.
It could have been like Cabin in the Woods. Maybe they were drugged on the boat. Maybe it was that creepy, perverted sailor.
I think we were all drugged when we watched this movie.
Something that's funny is the when they get driven up to the house, and Fred's like, "This is a terrible plan." I'm like, "Yes, I guess like SMASH was saying earlier, like, I feel like they made Fred funny."
Yeah, I think it was
And Welker rose to the challenge. I like it.
It was just so fun. And one of my favourite moments from this movie is a bit further on, but when the cat slashes the tyres and the driver's like, it looks like my tyres have been slashed. Good. Like, I like that a lot. That's like iconic Fred. Get yourself
I
a Fred.
seriously could watch this movie just for Fred.
Yeah. See, one thing that I really like about JayBee is he lacks social awareness sometimes. So, like, if his parents get a new car and he doesn't like it, he'll be like, what's this pile of rubbish? And I feel like that's exactly what Fred was doing here, so I just, like, sat laughing.
No, but my parents are awful with cars. Like, they had the most gorgeous car in the world.
They did.
Like, a few months ago, and they replaced it with some crap wagon.
I will admit what they did, swapping those cars, was criminal. It really was.
Advice for people out there, don't make bad choices. Actually, I always make bad choices.
Like, it literally was the equivalent of going from the mystery machine to this terrible van.
Yeah, and Elle was
The
taken.
van.
Speaking of the mystery machine,
He's like, what do you call it?
Yeah, it's called the van.
Oh.
Speaking of the mystery machine, I got a call from my mum like yesterday, and she was like,
She's like, from my mummy?
No, from my mum yesterday.
Oh, I was going to say, that was really cute.
And she was like, oh, you need to tell JayBee, like, when I was driving home yesterday, I was going through this little village, and you know the mystery machine they used to have parked there? They've brought, like, the person's moved back, and so there was just a mystery machine on the high street of this little village. Like, tell JayBee.
Is it
Oh.
who owns that? Is it like a Scooby fan, or is it some stoner?
So, you're gonna laugh because I'm from the countryside and this is a very countryside-y thing, but they used
it's a creepy
to be
old man,
no.
luring kids in
There
the
used to be this like festival thing in like local villages where for 1 week of the year, villages would independently like build like scarecrow peoples like with different themes and stuff and have them in the village. And in this one village, this guy used to create Mystery Incorporated every year and have them stood near his mystery machine for the entire week.
Wait, he makes Scarecrow Daphne's? Where can I find the contact details for this man?
Oh gosh. Well, next time we went back, my mum was like, next time we go back and see my parents, my mum was like, okay, we're taking JayBee to see it.
Yeah, it looks like. Yeah, wow. We're gonna get some Scarecrow Daphne's.
Oh gosh.
Let's do it.
Okay, so terrible van. Something that I like here, and I need to confirm that I can say this with JayBee first.
Oh, crud.
Okay. What interview went out yesterday, bearing in mind this goes out on Saturday and yesterday was Friday?
Oh, crap.
Because I want to check I'm okay to say this first.
Yesterday's interview is John Colton Barry.
Perfect. That's
So
what I
we've
wanted
announced
to
John Colton Barry at this point.
So yeah, if you've not gone to watch that interview yet, that is now on the channel. But we spoke to John Colton Barry, who was the writer of Be Cool, and one thing that he said he really wanted to do in that series was to work on developing the characters individually, that he thought, you know, he really wanted to develop Fred, Velma and Daphne. And I think that that's almost called on here when they're in the van, because they're like, okay, well, they're asleep. What do we do? What do we talk about? What do we do that's not solving mysteries? There's nothing. And I feel like we were like honestly having that conversation with him, that like going into writing for them, it was like, okay, I need to do something here. I feel like they just illustrated it perfectly, because they were like, oh, there's nothing. We just solve mysteries. And yeah, it just took me back to the interview, so I had to write that down. So then the tree falls into the road, as JayBee was saying. There's kind of a funny scene where like Fred's like, where they're like, oh, something's slashing my tires, and Fred's like, good. And then Velma and Daphne, I think, tried to give it this logical explanation. Like, oh, no, probably just that you ran over a nail or something. Trying to avoid that kind of suspicious thing when there's quite clear like claw marks on the tire or on the tree. And then they arrive at Moonstar Hotel. So obviously that's something that we were talking about earlier. It's not Moonscar.
I guess now we should discuss the cat creature in the room, right?
Yeah, because I guess we've seen it. And at this point, I don't know if there's any people that play Pokemon out there, Sword and Shield.
What the hell is
this? For me, the cat looks like Zarude. I told you that I thought the cat person looked like Zarude.
I thought we were talking... yeah. Well, no. Yeah, it looks like Zarude, and also it kind of looks like... in like face-wise, it looks a bit like Tai Lung from Kung Fu Panda, just because it kind of looks a bit sad, but also a bit angry. And I kind of want a plushie of it, actually.
For me, it looked like... or just looked awful, and so I just found it comedic.
I mean, it did look terrible. I mean,
Right.
it just looked like something from like Teletubbies or something. Like,
See, at this point, what I'd say about how I feel about this movie, okay, I thought I was going to feel angry, like, oh, you're ruining the original. How dare you? But instead, I'm just like, you thought this was good? You thought that was a good cat creature? Are you kidding me? Oh my god, I feel sorry for you. Like, I'm not angry, I'm genuinely just laughing at this point.
Someone earlier called it a panther.
Yeah, I see that. It's just so funny. Like, I feel like I spent so much of the movie just laughing. Like, you thought this was good. Oh my gosh, you thought this was decent. How did your brain tell you this was okay? This is awful. This isn't Zombie Island. Like, I can't even be insulted because it lacks any semblance of what Zombie Island is.
you're annoying, Miller.
What do you mean?
You just go on and it's scaring me. It's frightening me.
What, I thought?
Just that we're never gonna. Actually, no, I shouldn't say that because it's not what this is about, really.
What, just that we're never going to reach the end of the movie? She keeps talking.
No. I was gonna say we're never ever gonna be able to interview anyone involved in this movie, but then that's just kind of it's ruining our integrity if we don't speak our minds.
Like, I feel like we've given credit to the people that we would to some of the people we'd love to speak to. Like, we've said that this has been some of the best voice acting.
Oh, well, true. Well, yeah.
So there's positives for the negatives.
Okay. Let me also say, besides, like, again, what they were trying to recreate, everything that doesn't resemble the original Zombie Island, I have to say, this is one of the best animated Scooby movies in recent years for me personally. Like, besides the cat creatures, besides the zombies, throw those out, just looking at purely the characters and the scenery and stuff, I think it looks really, really pretty. It's just not the aesthetic for Zombie Island.
No.
I guess right idea, right method. And it is just strange because I think it's the most sequel-y sequel that Scooby's ever done. Even Scooby Doo 2, which is like the most. I think that's the only Scooby movie with the 2 at the end of it, right? Like, it's the only one that said this is a sequel. And even then, you 100% do not need to watch the 2002 movie to watch Monsters Unleashed. Like, I think if that was released today, Monsters Unleashed would have been a reboot. Like, honestly. But I think Return 2 is very sequel-y, like, and they recap the original movie, so it is very tied to it. But again, I think, yeah, it does look fun.
Okay, so I want to give JayBee some, like, relaxation time here, so I'm going to meet this with a compliment, because I know you may feel that I get a bit insulting.
Well, no, I want to be real, that's the thing, otherwise we may as well be sponsored to suck Warner Brothers like movies. Like,
okay, I stand by what I did say. Like, some of it is comically horrific, but one thing that I do like is that once they got to Moonstar Hotel or whatever, and they see cats and stuff.
Wait, the Courage villains in this movie?
I believe this is when they have that callback scene to Zombie Island.
Oh yeah,
when they explain the story while they were there.
Well, let's talk about that, because that's something that's very controversial, because obviously in Zombie Island it's very clear that they are an older iteration of the gang, and that is Daphne's job. It's coast to coast with Daphne Blake. Whereas this, they're like, oh yeah, that one summer that I was doing like work experience here. Like, I guess we'll start with Smash. What was your opinion on that kind of retcon or adjustment to the timeline?
Well, see, my thing is, I was like, they have to do something because these characters don't age, so they have to explain it somehow. Unless they're like, oh yeah, we were here a week ago, you know, like there's been so many years in between at this point. I mean, it even says on the back of the box, you know, like that this has been a, you know, it's been 20 years since the original movie. And so I was like, they unfortunately they have to retcon stuff because of the age thing, that they never grow up. And so I get why people are upset because in Zombie Island they really did make them seem like adults and everything, but in current movies context, like the current movie's timeline, it makes sense to me. I was like, yeah, sure. Daphne's father probably had money and was like, go do this internship because you're, super excited. So, you're into the movie business or TV business, whatever. And is it preferable? Is it what we want? No, but for what it is, I'm like, cool, whatever. It's one line that they had to retcon, and that's it. It was one thing, and then everything else was fine.
I honestly didn't even think about it. Like, JayBee asked me about it, I was like, yeah, I didn't hear that. I was actually busy just enjoying how they recreated the animation, like, in all this sequence. I feel like and that's why I was asking at the start, because I feel like the intro and all this flashback sequence just looked really good. Like, I've literally just done like 5 ticks on my notes around this because it's like, yes, 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 okay, this is good. This is what I feel like, I don't know, I just feel like there was no good way to recreate Zombie Island, but whatever you're doing is probably the best you could have done with it. So you had to do it. This is fine. Just keep going.
There's one shot in the flashback that I'm like, okay, somebody didn't do their research, but it's fine. We'll let it slide. But there's one shot, and it's actually during the Terror Time Again sequence where the zombies coming towards the screen and the mouth eventually covers the camera. And in the flashback scene in this movie, they're in the cave of the cat creatures. When that happens, I'm like, no, that happened out in the bayou. No.
Oh god. That's... Oh, I guess maybe they were doing it to hint that the cave was gonna be more important this time round, but yeah. I mean, I think it sounds like I had more of an issue with this retcon than you guys, because I was more like, well, I know that this is what they have to do to make it fit in with this new standard of movies, but then I'd almost argue, does it need to stand like we were saying, why does this need to conform with the other movies? Because the only people that would really have been going, oh my gosh, when's the new Scooby movie out? When's the new Scooby movie out? Are people that are going to keep up to date with it, in which case they're old enough to, I guess, differentiate what's an older Scooby movie or what's a new Scooby movie. Whereas if you're just a little kid and like your parents, guardians or friends like take you to like the shop or something, you could realistically see Scooby Doo on Zombie Island right next to the mystery map. Like the first Zombie Island next to mystery map, and that's very different. Like, oh mummy, like, here's zombies, but like look at Daphne's hair, doesn't it look so pretty on the cover? Oh, but I also love puppets, so can we get these? Oh yeah, of course we can, darling. Like, and then you put them on that night. Very, very different. And so when Zombie Island could be again next to either its original Zombie Island or mystery map, I kind of feel like, well, either put the Mook animations in another section of the DVD store, or just let it be and just make whatever's required for that particular moment. In this case, just make a sequel to Zombie Island that feels like Zombie Island, that looks like Zombie Island, because realistically they could see the original Zombie Island next to whatever they're doing now. I don't know.
What I'd say is last week there was a moment when Rihanna turned around and said to me, because it was at the very beginning when I was like, okay, Fred wasn't in this series, why is he the first character we see? And Rihanna was like, okay, you're maybe getting a little bit deep with this. You've got too much anger here, kind of bring it back a bit. I kind of feel like that a little bit with you, maybe because it's a Daphne character. You've been like, this isn't her story. Because I feel like the way that I get nostalgic over series and stuff, like, that's why I was kind of like so annoyed last week, was I feel like you're getting that with Daphne now because it's her character that's been changed and tarnished, whereas she was like the one that you really like gravitate towards.
Because I'm not angry, I'm just saying, if you're gonna make a sequel, make a sequel.
Well, I feel like that's I guess like because you're saying, like, you know, why did they have to explain it? Why did they have to change it? They've specifically said return to in the title. They've strictly said this happened before, so they need to make that make sense.
But what did they change in Curse of the 13th Ghost?
Well, nothing, because in the title they don't say return to Curse of the 13th Ghost.
Flim Flam, and whereas, like, kids can have growth spurts, whereas it wasn't work experience. Like, and I think the gang being older in that movie affected things, because the vibe of that was that they were a bit on the cynical side about the fact that they kind of split apart and they've unmasked so many fake villains. And again, I think if this was just its own thing, like if it was part of the Scoobyverse, which it is, and this is just the version of reality where Daphne was doing work experience, and the events that we're sequeling to is a version of Zombie Island that we've never seen, where it was work experience and not what we know it. You know what I mean? Like, if it was just a separate branch of a very similar timeline, then I can understand it, but I just feel like this movie is doing so much opposite to what the original one was doing, both thematically and otherwise. Like I said, like, the opening song to the movie is the absolute reverse of The Ghost Is Here, and so I'm just wondering why it needed to happen,
I guess,
and why it needed to happen like this, because again, things get put out in the DVD store in whatever order, so adult Scooby or young Scooby, they're going to end up next to each other at some point.
What I'm going to say is, and I feel like we didn't expect this, we expected me to be the one coming at this movie, I'm going to defend it. I'm going to say your argument about the one last week, like, been different. They didn't say the return of the 13 ghosts, finishing the 13 ghosts. It was the Curse of the 13th Ghost. That gave them the freedom with that movie to remake it like the first thing never happened. So they could change the timeline, do what they wanted, whether we liked it or not, because from the title in, they made that stand on its own. The same way, if they'd called this The Island of Zombies, we couldn't have been like, okay, well, you've said Zombie Island, so we want you to follow up on that. But they did that. They specifically said return to Zombie Island. So they have to, despite the fact the audience is 20 years further forward and that kind of thing, they still need to make some semblance of truth of Zombie Island, because they've specifically made the decision to say, look, that's canon.
I wonder if, I mean, this is just kind of me throwing ideas out, but I wonder if they had titled it rather Scooby Doo Return to Moonscar Island, if that would have given them a little more freedom, because, you know, people know the title of Zombie Island, I think, a little more than, like, Moonscar Island, even though that still does limit them. It's like, well, you're going back to a place that you've already been. I just wonder if they didn't have necessarily Zombie Island in the title, if it would have been like, well, you can just play around with it now, you know, follow up what you want, but you don't have to take in everything. Or I don't know, like, I'm trying to, like, think of a title that they could have done that would have been like, it's semi-tied to Zombie Island, but it's also not, and, like, you don't necessarily need that movie to watch this one, type of thing.
I guess something like The Treasure of Morgan Moonscar, or The Cat's Curse, or something like that.
What about Scooby Doo and the Curse of Morgan Moonscar?
Exactly.
The Curse of the 13th.
Or even The Curse of Zombie Island.
The Terror of Zombie Island.
Yeah,
The
true.
return. Because then it does say, okay, here we go, we've got a timeline, and this one is after it, 100% matter of fact, and also return to, it's linked to the first one. So I guess,
right.
But this is the thing, is like, I've sat here now and tried to defend the movie, but then why did I bother? Because in the next scene, that guy comes in wearing the cat necklace, and not one of them thinks to go, okay, you know how we just talked about that mystery outside and the key artifact thing from it? He's wearing it.
But then I would defend.
How is that level of stupidity?
But then I would defend it. I would come back to defending it now, because they've made a promise to Shaggy and Scooby to not look into any mysteries. And I guess they've rehashed an old mystery, but that wasn't part of the agreement. Like, I guess not mentioning mysteries was again part of it. But now I'm thinking, okay, maybe they felt like they've got away with a bit too much speaking to Shaggy and Scooby about the old mystery, that if a new mysterious thing happens, they're not going to mention it. So maybe that's why I would defend it.
And my next issue, okay,
I'm probably going to disagree
now we've reversed again. My next issue, why was the page ripped out? Okay, they're like, oh well, it's because we signed it last time we were here. No, you didn't. Am I getting this wrong?
Yeah. Okay, I agree
because
with that.
from what I recall, that wasn't a hotel when they were there. They didn't sign no guest book. Like,
did you say they didn't sign no guest book?
They didn't. Like, that didn't happen. So if they're so precious over, like, okay, well, how are we going to explain that Daphne did this? Then don't make up a load of rubbish that didn't happen, that you didn't even need to complicate it for yourself.
I have a contrary to this, actually. Because when in Zombie Island, you know, they're like, you know, fine, yes, come into my house, whatever. We all of a sudden cut to them in the living room, Shaggy and Scooby go in the kitchen. We don't see them entering the house. It's just, boom, they're there. You know, they're inside. And so there's stuff that we maybe didn't see. Maybe they were actually logging the people that they killed. I'm just saying, I'm going to throw that out there. It's very far-fetched, but I'm just trying to make it make sense to me.
Okay, Smash has picked up on something else there that I want to talk about. The kitchen. This is going to sound stupid and like I'm getting really picky. I wanted to see more of the kitchen. Like the wall where Velma like uncovered that statement, like
the pantry that they hid in.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, you're in the kitchen right now. Come on, Shaggy and Scooby. You love to spend loads of time in the kitchen. Let's see, because this was an iconic room. And this is the movie where they decide they don't want to spend time in the kitchen.
Yeah.
Okay, not happy. But yeah, page was ripped out. There's loads of cameras there for their protection. Then they go through to that other room, and all the staff are like quite literally recast members of Zombie Island,
except for Bo, right? Because Bo was done dirty, and like
that
Bojo.
Yeah,
why was
that is
Bo
such
done
a
dirty?
cop out. I'm like, the one person that could explain everything besides the gang, of course they're not going to mention.
Like, it is ridiculous, because I would have thought that if the end of Zombie Island, the original, can be seen as canon, then besides Daphne, Bo would have been... Well, maybe because Bo would have been the one to tell the world about Zombie Island, maybe that's why they weren't in it, because it's like, they might not have told them, like, the people about themselves. They might have just said about who was with him. But then it's apparently Velma that spread the story to the world, so it's like, there's just no reason why Bo shouldn't be mentioned. Yeah.
But this brings back an old argument. How can she write a blog on Reluctant Werewolf if she wasn't there, but she's the one writing the blogs? And the rest of Mystery Inc. perfectly clearly state that they don't know that she does this blog.
Yeah, no one supports Velma, which was kind of sad.
Does Shaggy and Scooby really come across as the type of characters who's going to be like, okay, so before we met you guys, we did this mystery, all these things happened, or are they more the type of people that's like, let's go get pizza? Can
you imagine the annoyance that Shaggy and Scooby would have felt trying to explain the Reluctant Werewolf to Velma? Like,
they wouldn't have sat there, they'd have been too hungry.
Full respect to Shaggy and Scooby if they tried to explain that to her, because like, her reaction to that would have been the most annoying thing. Like, werewolves aren't real.
And then we get the scene where, like, the wannabe captain decides to flirt with Daphne.
Oh, he's a man of substance also.
I feel like if we're gonna, like, get a bit angry about kissing the age difference, then this is a bit questionable too.
He was because he wasn't trying to be a creep. He wasn't trying.
He came across as creepy.
No, he wasn't trying to be what that horrible kiss thing was, where he's like trying to use his status to be a pervert. He was just reciting a bit of Shakespeare on that, and I think that's just nice and romantic.
Plus, again, I feel like Shaggy and Scooby, there was some substance on the boat in the air and it affected them, because surely the second they'd seen these people that resembled the cat people, they'd have screamed, done that spinny leg thing in the air that creates dust, and like been out of there.
The spinny leg thing.
Like, that's how it works for them, right? That's what they do.
Okay, I have to say the lady that was supposed to be portraying Simone was the most annoying character in this movie.
Oh, was that the one that was like, oh, this is stage
Yes,
left?
Anne.
Yeah, like
Yes,
here's all you
Anne.
can eat, the food there, and yeah.
They should have just brought, who was it? Was it Tara Strong that did one of them? And then they should have just brought the original people by. That's what I
Tara
thought.
Strong did Lena.
Did Lena.
Tara Strong.
But again, I just feel like it's comical. Like, I'm not angry that they've ruined Zombie Island because I don't see it as Zombie Island. Like, you know how this is gonna sound so bad. I'm sorry, JayBee, I really am. You know how, like, have you seen like Epic Movie where it like mimics Pirates of the Caribbean and things like that? Like, it's just a really bad rip-off of movies. To me, they did one of these with Scooby Doo Zombie Island, and it's just really funny.
Well, no, that's my point. I think they could have done that. I think they could have done that, and it would have been good.
Like,
and they'd set it up like they
comedy. It's hilariously terrible.
Your mum's
This
hilarious.
movie seems like a spoof of Zombie Island.
Yeah, exactly. And so this is why I'm not angry. This is why I'm not like, oh my gosh, they thought they could bring them back. This is awful. I'm just like, this is hilarious. That didn't look like a cat creature.
Honestly,
these aren't the right people. You've literally made a spoof movie. Okay. It's fun.
Honestly, I like to watch this movie purely for a laugh. Like, I'm like, I don't take it seriously as a follow-up to Zombie Island. I'm like, this is just a funny movie.
Yeah.
although, here's something that I've got an issue with, and I will accept criticism of if this is like a too deep and nothing thing, right? But I understand retconning events, okay? I even understand making it a bit more kiddie, right? But this is the same island, canonically. And it was an island that was set up in the first one. That's before all, like, the controversy or whatever. Like, it was famous for, like, being, like, a pepper plantation.
Never mentioned.
And yet, in that massive food scene, there's not one, like, chili pepper to be seen.
One pepper.
No.
Right.
And I didn't like that because it was so funny just to see them like sweating and like whatever in the first one. Even just a pepper growing on a tree. Wait, where do peppers grow on trees?
I don't know, but like I think it just furthers the fact that it's like a spoof movie. It's from somebody who doesn't really know the first movie that well, and they were like, "Hey, let's just make it funny."
Did they know it well though? And it was studio again, or what? Because that's one thing I've not really discussed. Oh, I don't like this studio, you know.
Okay, so where are we at? The staff are similar. The man was flirting with Daphne. All you can eat. Okay, this is the first bit where I'm like, you've got it wrong. Shaggy and Scooby go for the to the spa.
Oh yeah.
And the zombies come in and start clawing at their backs, and I'm like, no, the zombies were the good people. Because I was specifically like, I saw the zombies going up the corridor, and I was like, okay, they're gonna be scared. That's fine, but they can't hurt Shaggy and Scooby because they're the good guys. And then I was like, okay, they're massaging their backs. That could be to get their attention. Like, they're just tapping their backs. But when they physically started clawing, I was like, you got it wrong. You have got this wrong.
No, you've got it wrong actually, because they're not real zombies. Therefore, they wouldn't know the motive of the real zombies. I think who got it wrong was Shaggy and Scooby's reaction to that, because they should have gone, "Oh, you were the good guys last time. Like, what are you trying to warn us about this time?" But them representing the zombies wrong isn't wrong, if that makes sense. They weren't the real zombies.
One thing I want to say here is I think this Scooby movie gets darker than a lot of the ones have for a long time.
Oh,
like, you know when that zombie's arm just rips off? I was a bit like,
yeah.
This isn't very Scooby.
They look kind of whack though.
Yeah. So, I don't know about that.
Wait, how did they do that? Surely, I mean, probably movie magic can't explain that away, because there's mad stuff that happens in films now, but I don't know if this
So you want to ask how that happened and not how the Mystery Machine managed to fly across the top of the building?
Look, the Mystery Machine is a thing of legend.
That isn't the Mystery Machine, that's a makeshift wannabe.
No, it's the Mystery Machine's cousin.
So,
it's the Monstery Machine.
At this point, Fred, Daphne, and Velma are walking down the corridor. Fred thinks that he hears the Mystery Machine, so he's kind of lurking outside the door. Shaggy and Scooby run down. and like, oh, zombie, and like Daphne and Velma are trying to fuel this no mysteries thing, so they're like, oh, there's no such thing, like, you know, it's fine, calm down. Then Shaggy and Scooby, I think, run off to hide, which is when we first see the kitchen. And
what is your fixation with the kitchen? Because you criticise me for being so deep about a change to the timeline, and yet the kitchen, what is it? Come on.
It's that it has a trapdoor down into the cave.
Yeah. Yeah, well...
Yeah, that was kind of random.
Yeah, that's why.
Which, can it just be said, it should be the staircase.
They had to drag someone there, didn't they, in the original, whereas they've got this... Unless that was a new invention that they made to try and find the treasure easier, but then... No, you're right. It's not those.
And can it just be said... Right, this is getting too deep now, so maybe I'm being a bit stupid, but... When they, in the original Zombie Island, they go down the staircase and then there's a corridor. They have to walk down that corridor quite a way. Yeah. Not like it's the room next door and you can fall directly down into it.
The geography is a bit whack.
So, yeah, that's my only concern. But like I said, at this point, I'm just seeing it as a spoof. It's not that deep and it's just funny.
But is that letting the movie off too easily? Because if every bad sequel that we've seen, we can just go, oh, it's a spoof.
No, there's a difference between like the second Lego movie trying to be serious and just not been successful, as opposed to this, which is just ridiculous from the start. Oh no, not from the start. The titles are good after that.
Well, there are some scenes that I like coming out. So
and I would like to say that a lot of this is down to the writer of the last two movies, because we'd gone through a stage when I was hating watching these movies every week. Like Scooby Doo and Batman, I hated. And I like...
No, that was good fun.
It was so awful that I was like, I never want to watch Scooby Doo again, you know? Like, there's just been a few weeks of like absolute passes, and I just can't take another week like this. And then we get Gourmet Ghost, and the writer of that was like, okay, for anybody who loved Scooby, we're going to do this properly, we're going to go old school again, and it's going to be great. And it was great. And then I was like, okay, I'm there again with Scooby. And then last week, for all I spent a good 2 hours complaining,
you passed it.
That was an amazing movie. Like, if you pause that movie 30 seconds before it ends, just to shut up Velma for the last 30 seconds, that was an amazing Scooby movie. True. It would be in my top 3 Scooby Doo movies without that last 30 seconds. So I was on such a high with Scooby that it's like, okay, fine, it's funny. Not, oh, this is terrible. It's just, okay, fine, it's funny. So I guess the writer of the last two has to take a lot of credit for me being so happy with this, I guess. In that I'm just in a really good mindset with the series at the minute, but it's what it is.
I'm proud of you. I'm proud.
You're doing great.
Okay, so they fall through the trapdoor. There's a cat statue. They're like, oh, we've been here before. And then I think that's when they see the green zombie.
What, is this like a special variant? What do you mean the green? Oh, wait. Is this... It's not a toxic zombie. It's like the creeper zombie, isn't it? It's like
Yeah.
So yeah, that happens. Fred sees the mystery machine, or at least he thinks he does. Shaggy and... This is when they're searching for Shaggy and Scooby, I think. And you thought that Daphne's voice reminded you?
Yes. Oh my gosh. And it's just... It's good. Because I feel like, if nothing else, I think Mary Kay would have enjoyed Grace... Like, just watching Grace's performance in this, you know, from the heavens, because it's eerie. I want to do a side-by-side comparison, actually, if I can find a clip of, like, Mary Kay shouting for Shaggy and Scooby, which no doubt there is, because it was... I would almost trick myself into thinking that they'd reuse old Mary Kay footage for, like, nostalgia, but I don't think they did. So,
it was good. And then, so Shaggy and Scooby run in, and then when they're looking out the window, that's when they see, like, a herd of zombies, like the Walking Dead level herd of zombies, like, coming towards the house. And then that's when they're like, we made a promise. We can't break the promise. Did we say we made a promise here? And Shaggy and Scooby are like, what's going on? And so then they revoke the promise. And they start to set the trap. They board up the windows. And then the zombies break
Was there
in.
a song while they did that, like a montage? Because I think there was.
That's a question for Smash. For some reason, I feel like I listen to the voices and watch the animation, but I don't hear the music in the same way that everyone else does.
I think there's a song while they're like preparing the place, and I think it's a fun song, but again, very un-Zombie Island, but also very classic Scooby, so conflicted.
Yeah, I believe it was just like an instrumental.
Yeah, and I guess we've got another vocal coming up at some point as well, but this was the instrumental.
Okay, so this is a part when I was like, oh gosh, oh no. So the trap works, and you know how I said at the start when the trap worked the first time, I was a bit like, oh no, this isn't good, and then it turned out to be a dream. When the trap works the first time here, I was like, oh no, if someone's about to wake up and this was a dream, and I've wasted an hour of my life, I'm going to be really upset. So the fact that it wasn't a dream made me slightly happier. So the trap worked. They unmask the zombies, I believe, at this point.
Yeah.
And that's when they kind of explain why the zombie style was so bad. I guess they were trying to do it cheaply. It's why they didn't bother with the other costumes and things, because they wanted to do it cheaply.
Well, that was another funny Fred moment, because when they were going on about like the zombies, and like Shaggy was like, does that look like a mud mask to you? And Fred's kind of like, yeah, sort of.
One issue with this scene is the cat's in the background lighting a fire, and the fire has no consequence, right?
Oh.
They act like it didn't even happen. Like, you don't even see them putting the fire out.
Yeah, well, I don't remember. I know that you started a fire. Or it started a fire.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Yeah, you're right. So maybe the cat's just an illusion of the viewer's eyes longing to see a proper sequel to Zombie Island. Maybe we're just in a mass hallucination over...
But it almost, like, makes it seem like that cat has a motive.
What is
like,
its
it's
motive?
planning something.
Is
like,
that the
it's
cat
doing
god,
something.
or is that just some random cat then?
That's not one of the ones that gets unmasked.
Is it the god, like the one that the statue's based on?
I've got, like, my theory is really stupid, but I kind of get to it in a later point, if that's okay. Like, it fits into something else.
Okay, you and I will both tell our theories later.
Theory times. Yeah, okay. Well, just stay tuned, stay listening.
Oh, now I feel bad, because Smash has got a theory, and it's going to be, like, all, like, Scooby Doo history and knowledge-based, whereas mine's like, hey, this is what happened in the last movie I watched. Okay.
It's the Jaguara.
Okay, so... the unmasking, it says that they didn't sign the guest book. It was a movie, so it was all staged. It's why they had so many cameras. I'm just seeing what the next kind of point is to make. So it was to... so yeah, it was just that they wanted to recreate the old movie from Velma's blog, basically. And I was like, I wasn't unhappy with that.
I was very happy with it, because in itself, that's a good premise, because from my point of view, they could take it two ways. They could either, one, recreate the first movie in spoof, right? Like, purposely say, okay, let's remake it, but it's in the new art style, and maybe they're making kind of self-aware jokes, or... they could even make it a trope, and I think they even hint upon this, like when like that Alan guy is like all everyone cares about is franchises and if something's a sequel or something, and so I'm thinking, oh, they can make a self-aware reference within a reference, like a very meta movie about how making a sequel sometimes isn't always the best thing to do, and I kind of feel like those two things would have worked. But then they kind of do a half measure of both, but kind of not really, because Alan goes crazy before anything can really progress with that.
See, what I'd say is well done to Warner Brothers. Like, I feel like Zombie Island was a big title, and you wanted to get people's attention, so you used that title.
Well done, Warner. Are you trying to get like a crypto sponsorship or something? Early review.
They wanted to get people's attention mentioning Zombie Island, and they did it. They got my attention when they used that title. But at the same time, if they messed it up, I was going to be angry. And this was the one way that they could do it without touching Zombie Island.
Oh.
Because it was like, because they didn't try and, at this point, not like what happens after this, but at this point, they'd not decredited anything that happened on Zombie Island.
True.
But as far as any of us are aware, Zombie Island is 100% canon. It's 100% the truth.
Maybe just younger in this. But
all they did was bring them back there when the island is at peace and there was some people and they wanted to make a movie. At this point, they hadn't touched Zombie Island. So to that end, I was very, very happy. I was like, do you know what, Warner Brothers, you did it right. Well done. You got my attention saying Zombie Island. But I was going to be angry with this movie, and you've done it the only way that wouldn't happen.
That's awesome.
So I was very impressed.
Oh, I'm proud of you.
There's the day.
Because they didn't really tamper with anything so far. Like, it might not be as good as Zombieland, but at the end of the day, they've just visited back to that location. So, yeah, I mean, I would trust... Okay, if they announced that for the 20th anniversary of the 2002 movie, they were going to make an animated Scooby Doo 3 with Gray as Daphne, you know, Frank Welker as Fred. Like, they weren't going to, like, bring back Cardellini or anyone. But they were gonna make it like Return to Spooky Island. I'd still be excited for it. Like, I'd trust them to do something with it.
It'd get your attention, right? And I feel like that's what they needed to do for Zombie Island. They could have done this really with any Scooby Doo movie. They could have been like, okay, this one turned up on Velma's blog and we're gonna recreate it. But let's be honest, if you turn around to 90% of people and say, name a Scooby Doo movie, it's not a series, a movie. 90% of people, I'd say, who aren't like huge in the like interested in the community like we are, people who just have a bit of nostalgia, would say Zombie Island. So when you have to tell Warner Brothers a title that's going to make people like sit up and listen, you say Zombie Island. In theory, this didn't have to be Zombie Island. They could have done this with any Scooby Doo movie.
I agree.
They didn't touch the lore of Zombie Island at this point. Yeah. Well done, Warner Brothers.
Yeah.
Never thought we'd be saying that. You did good. Your marketing team finally, well, the concept people finally got it right. Like, hey, we need to get people's attention, and I think they used the one movie title that'd do that. So
give us.
I would actually say, there's one point in this movie when I was actually like clapping, and I think it was this one. I actually think I applauded them at this. Like, do you know what? Fine.
But you were clapping.
No, you were there. You know I was. I was like, okay. You actually did it. I'm proud of you. Go you.
I often clap watching Scooby Doo.
Gross. Okay.
They grew up so fast.
Okay, so they're like, oh, we can carry on filming. This is when Fred gets to see the Mystery Machine. He's like, I wasn't imagining it. And we get Stunt Fred.
Oh, I like that.
I love Stunt Fred.
Yeah.
Again, it was kind of like, you know what? You could have ended your movie there, but if you want to continue it at the minute, this isn't bad content. It's fine.
Right. Well, and honestly, like, it actually kind of calls back to the earlier moment of, like, what do we talk about besides mystery? It's like, now they're just kind of hanging out, making a movie about their mystery.
And it just shows so much personality. Like, we're coming up to the bit where they're trying to get Scooby to say that he's scared, and he keeps saying, I'm hungry, I'm hungry. And Shaggy's just like, hey, say this. And he's like, I'm scared. And it's like, yeah. Oh my gosh, Shaggy's character right now, like, it is after reading that book. I blame like the writers of that book. I really do. Like, Morgan Baden, you've got something to answer for, and the same for the first writer as well, because I didn't care about Shaggy's character until those books, and now I'm like, oh my gosh, look at that, like Lillard's voice, the love heart, like, yes, this line, like this scene, I was like, oh, that's great.
And I've got something nice to say about Velma now. So, when they were making the movie, and I think Alan was trying to make them have like a horror scene with the zombies, and Velma was like, actually, the zombies were the victims of the cat people. And I guess them defending the original story was a really good Velma moment in this, because even if she isn't fully convinced that it went down, she at least knows the integrity of at least what she perceives as a villain or a hallucination doing. Like, the fact that they're like, no, that isn't how it went. They weren't just evil zombies. Whatever it is, like, they were the victims of whoever the cat people were, was absolutely perfect. And I love that a lot. But again, then, I almost feel like it would have been a great, almost intelligent allegory for Alan being like an evil studio and like everyone else kind of being scared that it would ruin the story. Because it would have been like meta, but also maybe a bit too on the nose. But that would have been a good way to take it. And also, there was meant to be a scene in the rain, and wet Daphne is one of the best things I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, we need a wet Daphne Funko Pop. Like,
so progressing with the story slightly,
no.
can someone remind me what it is that makes Velma go crazy?
I'm not finished.
Like, what is it in this movie when she suddenly like runs upstairs to get a magnifying glass and pull her socks up?
Wet Daphne, probably.
So Fred was doing the stunt where he runs at the glass.
Oh yeah.
And for some reason, and I can't remember what it was, Velma ran up the stairs like she'd finally worked something out.
Was it the pendant?
I aren't sure. I
That
really
was
am not
later.
sure. I'm not sure. Yeah, I can't remember what it was, but anyway, she goes like crazy. And then, like, again, I've just put Velma's loco, like, that's just a continuous thing in my notes. And isn't she like, come on, kitty, 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 and like starts looking for the cats?
Oh yeah, and she like says she makes like an actress name for herself.
Yeah.
The cat creature.
Like,
I actually kind of like that scene where she's out alone. You know, I was like, that is a little creepy where she's just like out in the woods alone.
It is.
We need more Velma like this. Because this is pretty good Velma, like being like, if she cares about mystery so much, the fact that she's being so proactive in one is good to see.
So this is when the cats go insane and start attacking everybody. And we later find out that that's because they were controlled with a whistle.
Oh yeah, and I did like that. Here's a question though, like continuity wise. Is everyone okay, or are they not cared about the fact that Scooby was angry and chased cats in the original movie but was scared of them here? Because I thought it was very good character development, because one, I kind of felt it was unnecessary for Scooby to be so mean to the cats in the first one, but also maybe the events of the first movie like made him more scared of cats, so I kind of liked it.
Yeah.
But it's different nonetheless.
There's also a good chase scene coming up as well, right? Like,
Yeah.
I like...
Ba, 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 that one.
Yeah, I quite like the song in it.
I love it. Again, not Zombie Island, but it's one of the... And this is why I was so conflicted.
There's never going to be a terror time, but like...
Because, like, we have been without a chase song for so long, until the last movie with that Scooby station, and they've come back with another almost classic sounding chase song that could have come right from Where Are You Season 2. But again, I'm like, this is Zombie Island, but I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to download this, because I'm going to keep it forever.
I also kind of like how they do something a bit like classic Scooby, you know, when the cats kind of enter the restaurant and they are like dressed up as waiters and show them to the chair.
Oh, I love that.
And then it's like, hey, what kind of cats don't eat fish? And it's kind of like, okay, the ones that's going to get unmasked is the type that don't.
Do you reckon anyone's ever tried that in real life? Like, if someone's getting chased, do you reckon someone's actually just tried to rock a disguise and like confuse the person? Because I really want to try it. I never want to be chased, but I'd love to try that. What would you dress up as, Millie?
I was reading my notes. I can't think. I'm sorry.
Would you dress up as Daphne?
No. Okay, so that happens. The chase scene happens. And I believe ultimately they try to lure them into the cave.
Ooh. Well, is this before or after they have the, like, because they go down to the sundial before they try and lure them into the cave, and, like, Shaggy's like, oh, well, if that happens, we'll become zombies, and Velma's like, this time I think you might be right, and then they fake
Yeah, so
them
they
zombies?
leave the kind of cat amulet thing in the like cave system. They put it on the table. Okay, so how I'm confused here is, why does it light up the wrong place? Is it just that the dial's not fully hit where the cat is yet? Because it lights up the wrong place.
I didn't notice that.
Because they dig, don't they, and find the wrong box. The one full of gold Scooby snacks. So it's kind of... But then they dig up another treasure box afterwards. Like, that's the first time they're seeing the treasure. So it's like, how did you know where to plant that one if you'd not previously seen that one? So why are you acting surprised when you see all the gold when you must have dug that up to hide that one?
Wait, is this before or after Alan tortures the bow?
Oh, I skipped that out. I'm so sorry.
It's after.
I was confused.
That's something to go back to. I'm so sorry. But yeah, did anyone else get that confusion with the chest? And then we'll go back to the bow.
No, we don't. Well, we don't need to go back to the.
No, I had a point about
I
the bow.
seriously need to watch this movie again tonight.
Wow.
I'm trying to remember these small details now. I'm like, yeah, because I remember they like tricked them with the chest, but I'm like, I remember them finding the actual treasure. So yeah, I'm like, shoot, I gotta watch this again, like see what the frick happened.
Yeah, it's mad. Like, it's like, okay, how would you know where to bury it? But then you'd have seen that one. Yeah, it's a bit... Going back to the boat scene, I really like that, you know, when they torch the boat, because it reminded me of, you know, the scene in Actual Zombie Island when they're trying... Yeah, the real one. When they're trying to escape and they run down to the boat and then Jack turns around and he's like turning into a werewolf. When they run down and get to the back of the director, I don't know why I got taken back to that moment for just a second.
You know, I agree, but I think it was a bit too over the top. But at the same time, I was there for it because I actually do like this director character, to be honest.
And it's also where Fred's character gets more respect because they're like, you know what, you can be a stunt guy, you're fine.
And they like drive off using like the monstery machine.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that was great.
Yeah.
I love it a lot.
Okay, so back to the cave about finding the treasure. We see the zombie gang, which was quite... I feel like I respect this movie to some extent.
They were scary.
Because they were, exactly.
Very scary.
And normally they try to suppress anything that would trigger fear or anything from the viewers, but like, or like anything that can make the gang construed to be like, wasn't there a thing where they stopped making Scooby chase cats because they didn't want him to seem like he was violent attacking cats or something? There was something where they did like tone it down a lot. And I feel like for this movie, they toned it way back up because those zombies were terrifying.
They were eerie. I think the eeriness also stemmed from that we know what they're meant to look like, that it looked a bit distorted. Although I will say, zombie Daphne is still drop dead gorgeous. Let's just put that on the record. And we need a zombie Daphne from Purple.
I have a shirt I got that is like this exact shot of all of them as zombies, and then underneath them it says Scooby Doo Return to Zombie Island. And like, it is one of my favorite shirts, and honestly, like one of the shirts that causes the most conversations, because like, again, we kind of talked about this movie wasn't marketed the best, and so sometimes when I wear it, people will look at it, you know, and kind of do a double take and be like, wait, return, and be like, what? You know, and I'm like, oh, go watch it. They turn into zombies.
What if it just ended like that? They just turned into zombies.
But it doesn't end like that because Velma goes crazy.
Scooby's over.
Velma
goes crazy.
Velma's a bit of an odd one, I'll say that much.
Because she literally just starts a full-on rampage, and Fred and Daphne just have to be like, yes, okay, Velma, it wasn't real, don't worry, it's okay. And at this point, you know what, Velma's not annoyed me in this movie even slightly, because she's like, oh, well, that means it wasn't real because of this, and this, and it's just like, you're crazy. It doesn't tie in even slightly. Daphne and Fred are practically telling you you're crazy. Everyone's just really worried about you right now, and I hope you're okay.
Why did they say that it was a hallucination? Swamp gas, is that notorious for causing hallucinations?
Is that even real?
No one knows. Like, she's just... I want to word this politely, because, like, I don't know, like...
Just say what you mean, say what you feel.
I feel like quite often if people have a difficult time, then, like, it can become an issue, and I feel like she genuinely needs to take a break. I don't feel like she's okay. I feel like she's going crazy, and I genuinely have concerns for everyone around her.
Scooby kind of broke down in 13 Ghosts.
Yeah, exactly. Like, and they were like, okay, you know what? he needs something that's not like a mystery. Like, I feel like she's almost become addicted to them, and she physically needs to go through some kind of like
Mystery Solvers Anonymous.
Yeah, I feel like she genuinely needs to just take some time, go to a rehab, and like calm herself down, because
exactly.
she doesn't seem good at the end of this movie. She seems like physically ill. It's concerning.
I think she just needs hot dog water back in her life, to be honest. That's what I think we need to bring back. Bring back Cardellini as hot dog water and just have them as Velma's little nice one. That's what I want.
Like, yeah, maybe that would be good. Maybe she just needs a break. Because I feel like I've gone from saying I absolutely despise her in the last movie to now genuinely just saying, like, I genuinely hope she's okay. Because,
well, I feel like in this one, she is toned down compared to Curse of the 13th Ghost, but I just think with this one, I really like how even Fred and Daphne in this movie were like, just like, whatever, Velma, believe what you need to.
Well, one thing that I think, okay, is I feel like this movie would have had a different conclusion. Because for me, I feel like they didn't introduce that cat monster to do nothing with it, have it set fire to the house to do nothing with it. I think this had an ending like the end, and I know this is a stupid theory, but I think this had an ending like the 13 Ghost one, and I genuinely feel like they worked out that they couldn't end it the way they wanted to, where everything had this logical explanation. Because I feel like I feel like it's not like Warner Brothers and Scooby Doo to like leave a mystery unexplained, and if the reason they were going back to this one is because it was on Velma's unsolved mysteries list, it's more unsolved than ever in that there's this cat creature there. So unless they're wanting to set it up for a return to Zombie Island, which no one wants, it's a bit like, no, maybe not.
They should remake the first one with the live action cast now. That's what I'd want to see. For my mental health.
So for me,
I want to see a live action Zombie Island.
Except change Daphne's outfit.
See, I genuinely think that they were just like, they'd gone with this thing of, okay, it can't be real. And then I just feel like it had to be changed at the end because I just don't feel like the story's conclusive.
Well, they kind of make fun of that in a way. Like, don't they like mention a trilogy and then the director's like, oh, a trilogy, no thank you. But like the fact that they've even mentioned that is a bit like maybe testing the water a bit.
Don't you dare do that again. But yeah, they all break down crying because for some reason isn't the sheriff there. It's like, oh, I knew it'd be you lot. And it's like, all right, okay then. Bronson wannabe, goodbye.
Well, that's the thing, that even if they were to make a third like Zombie Island movie and throw like, oh no, please don't, you can be sure that eventually we'll watch it and sit down and talk about it for a bit. So I guess the Warner Brothers are winning either way, aren't they?
So yeah, that's the end of the movie. I feel like no real conclusion other than they're like, you know what, we're gonna get the Mystery Machine back.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of anything. I'm all right.
Yes.
There was like an Elvira like join credit scene that was fun. So
I guess the last part is me and Smash were gonna say our theories on the cat that was left. So I guess if I do mine first, because otherwise I'm going to be too embarrassed after hearing Smash having a good theory to say mine. So my theory is, and my feeling at the end of this movie was, I actually felt really positive because I felt like Zombie Island was at peace. Like I genuinely felt like, you know what, the first movie happened and it had its conclusion. The cat people are gone, the zombies are gone, and it's just like this really good, nice, calm place. We obviously saw the story pan out as it did, and for me, the cat that was left, it's just going to be a case of another unmasking. Like either they had a similar motive to the other cats that were there in that they wanted to find the treasure, or okay, so, and again, this is pushing it really far, but like, and this is kind of a bit of a spoiler on a recent movie that's currently in cinemas, so I kind of don't like specify what movie it is too much, but like there's like a thing where they talk about how like if somebody's a fan of something, they recreate it for like fun purposes for them basically. So I think there's a thing in like the Scream series where they the Scream series kind of say that there's some movies in a cinema that's like replicas of what actually happened in the actual events. And I feel like either that or like there's just somebody like Daphne who's a fan of Velma's blog that's gone too far.
Daphne.
And so they're just like climbing trees around this island. But regardless, I didn't see it as anything serious that even needed to be considered. For me, Zombie Island, you know what? It's at peace. I didn't want to go back there. I didn't need to see it again. But now that I have, it's fine.
If they're a hardcore Velma fan, they need help anyway.
So like I said, my theory wasn't that good. It was just that it's going to be some like fan of Velma's blog that was going around the island, or again, somebody just looking for the treasure. I genuinely don't think that it's that deep. I think maybe they did have plans for an unmasking of that character. I don't think this is the movie that Warner Brothers wanted, because it does leave it open to the fact that ghosts and zombies and stuff are real. So I feel like it's not what they wanted to that end. So that's why I feel like it didn't get the ending it wanted. I don't think, like I've said it again, I'm just repeating myself, but like, I don't think they'd have caused the fire and introduced a character just to give it that ending and let it be open that this stuff could be real. I genuinely think Warner Brothers had to change the ending at some point here. So yeah, that was my theory. So Smash, please add some logic to the mix.
I might have a theory afterwards as well, but I'll wait until after Smash.
Okay, so, well, because originally my theory was that this cat creature was the officer that keeps appearing in these movies, but then that gets debunked, well, semi-debunked in the next movie. So right now, what my kind of theory is, because, you know, it's like deep in my heart, I know they won't do a third Zombie Island, at least anytime soon. But just with how they end it, I'm like, I'm just being a little hopeful that something could come out of it. But if they ever did, then my thought is, you know, when we end the original Zombie Island, Lena, Simone, and Jacques all disintegrate. And, you know, they're able to get on the boat with Bo and head back to the mainland. Well, are we forgetting something? Yes, we are. Snakebite Scruggs still lived in that bayou. And, you know, how long has it been between time? We don't exactly know how long it's been since he's been there. But, like, I'm, you know, anyone could really, but I'm just going to shoot him out because we know of his existence and his how close he is to the island and stuff. So my kind of thought is that he wandered, you know, around the island, found the cave, was like, what the crap is this? This is really interesting. And then the cat god was basically like, ooh, my next victim. You shall live, but you must murder. And so he's turned into this cat creature, and he's like, well, crap, I guess I gotta live forever now and suck these life forms out. And so, you know, we see in Return to Zombie Island, he's like, okay, cool. I'm gonna, you know, do everything I can to get them to stay here long enough, because thing is they have to wait until the harvest moon to suck the life forms out. So he's like, if I can do anything I can to get them to stay on the island until then, but not know my existence, then, you know, this will work. And so that's like why he was setting the fires, chopping down the tree and stuff, because he's like, what can I do that'll make them be like, well, crap, we have to stay here. We're stuck on the island. And although it was Alan who was like, burn the boat. And so my thought is, if they ever did do another Zombie Island, it would more so be this other cat creature escaping the island and like finding the gang and being like, you know, I want my ultimate revenge on you guys. And so I had come seek you guys out, and now I'm going to drag you back to this island if it's the last thing I do. The end.
Huh. Oh, I like that a lot. It's actually quite similar to mine, but I think yours is a lot better. Mine was literally that we have the snake bite geezer represented in this movie via the actor. But again, there's no Bo Neville, and I think the reason why I'm saying is because after that, he specifically said that he wants to tell his superiors about this, but no one would believe him. My theory is, after that, the events of the first movie, Bo went to tell the police and his superiors about the island, except it ruined his life because, quite correctly, nobody believed him. Maybe he was mocked for being that kind of lunatic detective. Right. He lost credibility due to that, and he thinks, oh my gosh, Daphne had a camera that got lost somewhere on the island, so I'm going to go back to that island to look for the camera to try and fix my reputation, because if I bring footage back, they're going to reinstate my job, they're going to reinstate my reputation, and I won't be a laughingstock anymore. So he goes to the island and tries searching every single nook and cranny of that place to look for it, and eventually would discover the cat creature's shrine and all of that, and that's how they became the black kind of cat creature. And it's Bo still on the island looking in hopes of finding the camera that could save his life.
And
that's interesting too.
That's a very good suggestion. Or, building on your theory, he didn't become a cat creature, but because of his reputation and stuff, he didn't want to seem to be himself. So to kind of further the theory and the rumours, he goes about as the cat, so that if somebody did go to the island, it's more people supporting his story because they've seen it. Not only that, but the reason he chopped the tree down is because he saw Daphne, Fred, Shaggy and Velma and Scooby arrive on the island. He almost wanted to stop them in their tracks because they obviously would support his story.
That's true, but then I guess he would have revealed himself. But I think a way to find out is, don't the cat creatures wear the same clothes as that's the humans that was wearing?
And that one wasn't wearing any clothes.
Wasn't it wearing shorts, brown shorts?
I didn't think it was wearing clothes.
So I was going to say,
which then would support.
I think it was wearing clothes. He decided to go commando.
We need to find a picture of them.
But no, I think it could be Bo, or it could be anyone. Who knows? Maybe that's what the next one will be.
So,
but I have to say though, with your idea of Daphne's camera, I really did think originally that this movie was going to spawn from her camera. Like someone had found the footage and was like, I got to get you back to the island. And, you got to explain this. I want all immortality. Explain how I can do that. So I'm going to force you to this island. Like, I really want her camera to come back into some story at some point.
Oh, it could be found footage Zombie Island.
Zombie Island behind the scenes.
Ooh, how creepy would that be though? If it was like a out of context horror movie of a kid being raised by Simone and Lisa or something, or Lena, and they just find this footage, and the last thing they see is them turning into cats, and there's a knock on their door, and it's there. I don't know, just some weird thing like that. That would terrify me.
Okay, so I feel like, is this the end of the plot, the opinions, and it's time for Smash or Pass?
Yeah, it's time for what we're here for.
So, JayBee, as always, it's you first. Smash or Pass?
Well, here's the thing. I want to pass this movie so badly on principle, because I feel like to smash this movie would be to tell Warner Brothers that if you keep nostalgia baiting without any real consideration to the people that would be excited for it, if you keep on doing this for the money, for the attention, then that's okay. That's why if I smashed this, that's what that would be saying. But at the same time, by itself, it isn't an awful movie. It's just, to me, based on that principle, and because I don't like it enough that if I have this, like I do, on my shelf with all the other DVDs, this is never going to be an option above the original Zombie Island. It's never going to be an option above so many others, and I just wish that there was not a neutral thing where I would both smash or both pass it like Millie wanted to do last time. I kind of just want to nothing this, because that's how I feel about it ultimately. It's just difficult, because the quality is a normal Smash movie, but I don't think it deserves to be a Smash movie. So I'm actually struggling because I don't want Warner Brothers to think that this is a good idea.
You always tell me that smash or pass comes down to, are you gonna watch it again? If yes, smash. If pass, no. And last week I broke that because I've wanted to rewatch the 13 Ghosts all week, so I feel like I need to revise that and say, you know what, that movie's actually a smash, because it is. But if that's the theory we're applying, then that's the question to ask yourself.
Well, I think pass then, because unless we all reunite Zombie Island proper style in like 20 years to like recover these again, like I don't think I'm ever gonna watch this again. So I guess pass, but conflicted pass. What about you, Millie?
Okay, so we know I like to talk, so this is probably going to come with a very long-winded explanation, for which I apologise. Because I feel like I want to congratulate the right people on this, because I feel like, and I said it in the episode, this was done very cleverly. I think it was a great move to put Zombie Island in a title, because it brings attention, it does. Because if we'd have seen any other Scooby movie on the shelf that day, I'd have walked past it and not said a single thing. But because this was Zombie Island, it was like, okay, what are they doing? It piqued my interest. And so for that, great move. What would have been a bad move would be if it had damaged the pre-existing movie. In a way that I guess last week tried to kind of do. But this didn't touch the original movie. It was the best way they could have possibly done it. But because it didn't touch the movie, there was also the nice introduction, which was great nostalgia-wise. So they did do a lot right. It was amazing voice acting on the part of Lillard and Welker, certainly in this movie. It was amazing. But I feel like it almost did Lillard and Welker dirty in that they deserved to be voicing a better movie. I feel like this was a lot about just having the title Zombie Island out there, and like I said, ultimately, it was just a really bad spoof movie. Like, seeing that first cat, it was hilarious. Seeing Velma and how insane she's getting, it's just, what is this? It's not Scooby Doo, it's not normal, it's just, this has no place in the world. This movie didn't need to happen. It is like some studio went behind Warner Brothers' back and was like, let's make a bad Zombie Island, it's going to be hilarious, let's like make fun of them. It just isn't good. I'm never going to watch this movie again. Like I said, they did it the best they could. It just shouldn't have happened to begin with. So yeah, it's a definite pass. And so finally, Smash. Would you say smash or pass for Zombie Island?
I don't want to say anything. Because, I mean, we've all kind of said it. It's like, if you can separate this movie from the original Zombie Island, this movie's just fun. I'm like, you laugh at it. It has such funny moments, and it's just a good time. But because it literally is just tied to Zombie Island, you're like, trash, hate it. And so it's like, can you separate it enough to be like it's its own movie? Or does the nostalgia hold on too tight that you're like, I can't let go that they're, somewhere that was a place in my childhood? And so I'm like, I am torn because a part of me is like, I definitely will be watching this multiple times purely to laugh. It's like I need a lighthearted Scooby movie that's just full of gags and doesn't take itself seriously. Put it on. But at the same time, it's like, because of its return to Zombie Island, it makes me want to, gotta watch Zombie Island, then I can watch this one. Oh, I'm so sorry. So it's like, there's no happy medium, I swear, with this movie. And so I will very, very lightly say smash.
Oh, so that's very interesting. A Smash Return to Zombie. I think that's good though, because I think this is the most surprisingly the most conflicted verdict I've ever given.
I will say, like you say, for you it's conflicted. For me, I thought this was going to be like the last episode, just tearing it apart. And it wasn't like that. Like, with what they had, they did their best. Like, it was an iconic movie.
Right.
And so what were they going to do to tarnish that? Were they going to turn around and say, oh, by the way, the entirety of Zombie Island was a sham?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Like,
it could have been so much worse. Like, it could have been like Velma every time, like, huh, zombies aren't real, cat creatures aren't real. But it wasn't like that. So I'm grateful, but
yeah, it could have been like, oh, like, you know, they were just looking for the treasure. They just lured Mystery Inc. here because they knew we were good at solving puzzles and they needed to find out where the treasure was. And oh, the zombies, that was just people that they hired to try and like scare us into wanting to solve the mystery. Like, that was a plot line that they could have used if they wanted to disprove it completely. They did the best they could to do a reboot of Zombie Island, and that it didn't hurt the original plot. It was funny. Voice acting was great. I can completely see why this would be a smash. It's just, for me, it was like a spoof Scooby, not a real Scooby. But yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
This went a lot better than I thought it would. I was
survived.
pleasantly surprised.
Surprised.
See, it shocked me that much I can't speak.
No, to be fair, my voice has been mad this episode. I've gone into like some like half American accent on multiple occasions, so I sympathise with you. Oh, so next up it is
Happy Halloween!
So that's one I'm kind of looking forward to, but
I was until Smash started talking about it at the start of this episode. And then I was like, oh no, this sounds awful.
It's Smash.
Okay, I will say Happy Halloween is another one that should... Okay, I will say, honestly, between, like, these... Okay, sorry, I don't know where I keep on sidetracking. I'll say a few things about Happy Halloween without giving too much away for next week's conversation. First of all, Happy Halloween is another fun movie. It's just fun. I will say the end scene of Happy Halloween is what Return to Zombie Island wanted to be. Where there's just like guts and murdering and machetes. It's like, this is literally what Return to Zombie Island should have been. Is just like a massacre of zombies.
I'm excited. I'm really excited.
Have either of you seen it?
I think, again, I think I've seen the first half of it, and then I fell asleep. For no fault of the film, it was just me being weird. And then I think I woke up for like the last 5 minutes or so, so I've seen a lot of it. And Millie's not seen any of it. So poor you, Millie. You've got another...
I mean, what I do want to say is I see what Smash was saying now. Like, he said by the end of this trilogy, you might be mad at Velma in the first one. By the end of it, you're not going to be. And I do see what he means. Like, when we do the tier list at the end of this and put the series in order, I'm going to give The Curse of the 13th Ghost the credit it deserves, because that was a very good movie. And for all I feel like Velma ruined it completely, and that's the only reason I said pass to it. Like, after seeing this movie, I'm genuinely just like, okay, she's like not okay.
Yeah, but the tier list is gonna be the episode before the last episode ever, so that'll be emotional as well.
Yeah. Series JayBee.
So, just to wrap up, does anybody have any community news? Millie, do you have any?
I'm sure we talked about something and I can't remember what it is.
I think it was Scooby and Cameron share these things that are coming out. They're like knitted Shaggies and Scoobies. They look kind of cool.
Yeah, those are cute.
There is a Velma figure coming out. And JayBee tweeted at the company like, hey, do a Daphne one of these and I'll fly to the US to pick it up. And they were like, okay, great, get your plane booked for September.
I think it's September or October.
Right.
So Daphne is coming. Then I'm really excited, and obviously you guys know I did that. So You're welcome on the research, everyone. I've got you covered. For all your Scooby news.
For all your Daphne needs.
Yeah. Come to Smash Up Us podcast for all your Daphne needs. What else? I guess we should promote the interview that we did with John Colton Barry again. That's been out as of this premiering about in like 24 hours now. So hopefully you've all seen it, you've all enjoyed it. I really liked it. It's one of my favorite interviews that we've done. So please go check that out. And I suppose at this point I should mention that I'm gonna be doing some announcements on Instagram and everything on the 1st of February for an interview coming out on the 14th of February.
Can I say why we're doing that?
You can say why. I'm not gonna even hint at who and future stuff to do with it.
So no like spoilers then. But I think it's fair to say that interview is the first of maybe a few interviews, because it is the 20th anniversary of the live action Scoob.
I think it's the first of 5 or 6 interviews.
Yeah, I think it's the first of 5, I want to say. Because this is the 20th anniversary of the first live action Scooby Doo this year. So we're going to be doing some celebration interviews for that. Yeah.
I'm excited.
Follow the Twitter and Instagram.
I'm very hyped for that. It should also be on the YouTube community page as well, but I think it crops it, so I don't know how good it looks, but I always try and keep that included because I know some people just stay away from other social media platforms, but just keep an eye out regardless, because there's definitely some cool things in the works and I'm excited.
Yeah. And can we say that we've got 1 recorded and that another 2 secured?
1's recorded, 2 are lined up. I've tried to reach out to a lot of people. There's stuff that I'm excited about.
There's a lot that could be happening.
And I want to build hype just because otherwise I'll just end up like verbally vomiting over everyone. And no one wants that to happen. I do that enough in the main review section.
So yeah, I guess it's fair to say JayBee's working hard for y'all and we're recording with him.
Yeah.
So yeah, thanks JayBee. Did we ask Smash, do you have any community news?
Not from me this week.
Okay, great. So that is it for this week. As JayBee said, next week we have Happy Halloween. So yeah, stick around for that. Subscribe, and also subscribe to Smash's channel. All the links for that will be in the description as well. So yeah, thanks for watching.
Hey, Smash Up Us. See you next time. Woo! Zombie Island.
Boo.